What the heck? Call the Plan Commission meeting order of September the 23rd. Please, Mr. Eddie, please, Mr. Planning Manager, please call the roll. Here. Excuse.
Here. Here.
Here.
Commissioner Leone?
Here.
We have a quorum. Please rise, join the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. I just want to do some good news for tonight. We just, in a previous meeting, the Community Development Authority in this particular room approved a new business here in the city of Franklin, moved from Mequon to here. Not a huge business, but it'll be a valuable asset to our community, to our business community. Data management company. They do coin sorting for the casino and banking industry. So we're happy to have them. I'm looking for the extras. So that's a good thing. This is a Plan Commission meeting. There is no public comment because we have hearings for the Plan Commission, and so there is no open comment, just public hearings, and specifically tonight, only one. So with that, we move on to the regular order of business. Is there approval of the regular meeting minutes of September 9th?
So moved.
Second.
Leone and Hanneman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I wanted to take the items out of the order, just to take care of some smaller matters. Move on to D1, the Bosch Property Land Division. Mr. Martinez?
This is a certified survey map to divide the subject property. There is approximately 79 acres located in the south of the city, southwest specifically. It's zoned prime agricultural A2, so the proposed land division will be divided into two lots. One lot, 75 acres, and the other lot, lot number 2, 4 acres. But the A2 zoning, the prime agricultural district, requires a minimum area, lot area of 35 acres. So the applicant is requesting for a land division variance to allow for lot 2 with an area of 4 acres. According to the UDO, the intent of the prime agricultural district is to prevent the premature conversion of the agricultural lands to urban and suburban uses. So even though this lot number 2 that does not meet the minimum lot area required, the zoning remains the same for agricultural, so residential commercial uses will not be allowed. An additional fact is taking into account the property area, 79 acres, it could be subdivided into 2 lots with more than 35 acres, the 2, so it maintains the overall density for the district. The lot number 2 meets the minimum width, and it's worth noting that the other agricultural district, that is the A1, requires a minimum area of 3 acres, just to give a comparison. So staff is recommending approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Let me lead off here. This, I don't think by any stretch of imagination, could be called a flag lot, but at what point would we call it a flag lot? Which, by the way, is prohibited by our zoning ordinance.
Right, when the depth, I mean, the rear property line is too wide with respect to the front. So when you have
So if there was 40 feet on, well,
when you have like a narrow front and then it gets wider to the rear of the property, that's what we call the flag lot shape.
questions from the commission? Alderman Hannon.
Then I move to adopt a resolution conditionally approving a land division variance for a two-lot certified survey map being the north one-half of the southeast quarter of Section 32, Township 5 North, Range 21 East, City of Franklin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, at 10757 South 92nd Street.
So moved.
Actually, you'll be a second.
Second.
Oh, sorry, I thought you
No,
asked for a motion.
no problem.
Apologies, second.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's move to the,
Do we need to do the certified survey map also?
yes, in the certified survey. Yeah, sorry.
I move to recommend approval of a resolution conditionally approving a two-lot certified survey map being the north one-half of the southeast quarter of Section 32, Township 5 North, Range 21 East, City of Franklin, Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, at 10757 South 92nd Street.
Second.
There we go. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to the Woodland Trails condominium facade and window changes. And before we get into this, this is one of those things that our UDO requires us to look at, which we're not going to do anymore. Maybe. Go ahead.
Green.
Okay.
Thanks, Bosh.
This is a request of the homeowners association. They've had some problems and damage as a result of some poorly installed Ohio cobblefield cultured stone on the facades, and so they're requesting changes to 7 of the 18 total buildings in this development to change them out from the cultured stone to a bit more of a facade that's wood-based type design. Okay. Yeah, they're basically switching them out because they've had some structural damage as a result of the cultured stone and water leakage behind through them. So that's what they're requesting, is a switch out of the previous design to this design.
Questions from the commission? Alderman Hannon.
I move to determine the proposed amendment to be a minor amendment.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I also move to recommend approval of an ordinance to amend 15-3.0430 of the Unified Development Ordinance, Plan Development District Number 25, Woodland Trails Condominiums, Burke Properties, to allow for facade changes within the Woodland Trails Condominiums complex, which is 9301, 9325, 9337, 9363, 9375, 9399, and 9411 Cobblestone Way.
There's a second.
Second.
Commissioner Hanneman, Alderwoman Hanneman, Commissioner Leon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, let's go back to the way we told everybody we would do it. Right? Okay. Okay, the first agenda item is Payne and Dolan, Inc. The review of the quarry reclamation plan. It's a public hearing. Mr. Planning Manager, you have a meeting notice, public hearing notice.
Yes, this hearing is being held on Thursday, September 23, 2021 at 7 p.m. or thereabouts in the Common Council Chambers at the Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin, 53132. The requester is requesting approval of a non-metallic mining reclamation plan and the issuance of a non-metallic mining reclamation permit for the Franklin Aggregates Quarry site. Property owner is Payne and Dolan Incorporated. Upon property zone Plan Development District Number 23 and Plan Development District Number 24, 5335 West Rawson Avenue, Franklin, Wisconsin, 53132, located within the approximate boundaries of West Rawson Avenue on the north, West Drexel Avenue on the south, South 51st Street on the east, and South 68th Street on the west. The applicant is proposing a reclamation plan in compliance with those two districts to describe the activities necessary to reclaim Franklin Aggregates quarry site to a condition whereby future development is feasible after conclusion of mining extraction activities. The Franklin Aggregates quarry is an active limestone quarry to be continued on the site until completion of the mining extraction activities. Final reclamation will consist of reclaiming the quarry perimeter upon completion of the mineral extraction activities, with approximately 75 acres to be reclaimed, and the remaining 250 acres will become a lake, with the proposed land use to which this site will be reclaimed as green or open space. The final end use for the reclaimed area of the site is yet to be determined and will be done at a later date. This public hearing is being held pursuant to the requirements and standards of Section 15-3.0428 Plan Development District Number 23, subsection S, Detailed Reclamation Plan, and 15-3.0429 Plan Development District 24, subsection T, non-detailed Reclamation Plan of the City of Franklin Unified Development Ordinance, and Chapter 176, Non-Metallic Mining Reclamation, Section 176.15, Public Notice and Right of Hearing of the City of Franklin Municipal Code and Wisconsin Statutes, Section 295.12, subsection 3, Program Requirements for Non-Metallic Mining Reclamation Rules. A map showing the property affected, full legal description, the application, and all supporting materials, including the reclamation plan, are available for review and may be obtained from the City Council or from the City Clerk by way of request to the Department of City Development at Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin 53132, during normal business hours. The public is invited to attend the public meeting and or public hearing and to provide input.
Excellent. Appears we have a properly noticed public hearing. So, English language, who's doing that? Regular. Mr. Martinez.
Yes, this is the informational hearing required for reclamation plans by the municipal code to gather input. No recommendation is requested for the Plan Commission at this time. The next meeting for the recommendation is scheduled for October 21st, and we mailed the public notice to the properties located within 300 feet of the quarry or the PDD. Link from Payne and Dola has a presentation.
And there will be a public hearing on that date.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We have publicly noticed public hearing with that and English language explanation. All those, I will now open the public hearing portion of this particular agenda item. Anyone wishing to speak, please. Clint, why don't you take a seat? Oh, before I open the public hearing, Clint, come and do your presentation. Sorry.
Great, thank you very much. My name's Clint Wenninger. I'm a geologist and the land resources manager with Payne and Dolan. So I'm in charge of basically all our land assets and all our reclamation that we do throughout the company through Wisconsin and Michigan. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, and I'll try to keep it in English, Mr. Mayor. So, yes, sir. Is that better? Sorry. The purpose, as mentioned before, for the reclamation plan is really to turn it from a quarry to a regraded state that's vegetated and ready to be developed in the future. What that looks like, we don't know. The city doesn't know. That's why we picked the open space as a holding category, if you would, for the reclamation. And then the next group of people that it's going to be well past probably any of us being here when the quarry's actually reclaimed and ready to be turned into another land use, they can decide at that time what the best fit for the community is. But the site will be graded to such a state that development can occur with some minor grading at that point in time. We felt that was the best flexibility allowed. I think the city did too when the PDDs were enacted. That language was put in there. And that's pretty common for our sites that have a long-term outlook like this one does. So, yes, sir. Okay. All right. I'll just start quickly on just a little background of the quarry for those that don't know. This is all the property that we own is outlined in blue here. I don't even know if that's going to go that far. Yep. So outlined in blue here. That's all Payne and Dolan owned property. The PDDs are actually encompassed by the area outlined in orange here. And there's actually two separate PDDs. PDD number 24 is in this upper right-hand corner. PDD number 23 is in the bottom southwest corner, if you would. That was because at the time these were enacted, there was two separate operators. 8 years ago, we purchased this asset from Vulcan Materials, so it's operated as one quarry now, but we still refer to it because there's two separate PDDs. We own approximately, it's a little over 530 acres total that we own here. The PDDs encompass about 325 or so of that, and the remaining 210 acres of that is buffer property. I already discussed a little bit about the purpose of the reclamation plan. The existing conditions, I know it's a little hard to read on here, but I at least want to show you the main points. This is exact plan that was included in the reclamation plan. It's the existing contours that are out there. Some of the main features, you'll see that there's a pink line here that includes the PDD limits here. There's also then a red line in here that includes the extraction limits. So that's as far as limestone can be extracted in any of the directions. Right now, we're currently operating in the middle of the site here. This big area on the outside is the berm that surrounds the property, and that's the main area that really needs to be reclaimed is this perimeter of the property. Oh, that's too fast, sorry. Let me just go back a little bit here. Oh, sorry. The quarry right now is anywhere from about 200 to 250 feet below the ground surface, depending which part you are in right now. And that's about 220, 230 feet below the existing groundwater table. The existing groundwater table is about the level of the river that you see here. So we actually have to pump the quarry dry, similar to what you do like a sump in your basement. We have a low spot, all the water goes there, we pump it dry to keep it where we can operate it. So in the end, the reclamation, we clean up a lot of, the interior stuff, all the equipment's gone, all the electric's pulled out, and then what we do is we turn the pumps off. But what we have to do is the grading around the perimeter of the property. So this is the actual grading plan here that shows reclaimed slopes around the perimeter of the property. So the extraction limits are actually in here, and then the grading, it makes for a nice 3-to-1 slope. But all these areas on the outside surrounding the property, the berms have all been pushed into the quarry in the hole that we have. And then we cover these reclaimed slopes with topsoil and then revegetate those. So then this area surrounding the property will be available for development in the future. The lake, when it's done, is going to be approximately 250 acres in size, and roughly, depending where you are in the pit, it's going to be 200 to 20 to 250 feet deep. It'll take approximately between 10 and 15 years for the quarry to fill, and that comes from stormwater that's entering this area, and then also just a natural influx of groundwater that occurs through the limestone. Now, a couple of unique features of the reclamation plan here. We'll actually have up in this northwest corner, the area highlighted in red here is actually going to have a rock face down into the water. And the area in blue is actually going to have a slope that extends into the water. And I have a cross section that'll show those a little bit. But as part of the reclamation, though, even though we have rock faces up in here, we will have two access points through here. One is through the existing ramp feature here, and then there'll be another ramp feature here going down into the water where it'll be accessible. Here are the cross section of the rock face in the top left here. So the rock will extend anywhere between 5 and 10 feet above the water table. And the water table is going to come about the level of river, which is about 10 feet below Rawson Avenue or so.
This is an example. It's not to scale in a cross section of portion of the quarry?
Uh,
For example, is this, well, Rawson Avenue here?
Yep. Yep. I'm not sure exactly where this section was taken for. I think this is just a typical section, Mayor. So, but yeah, if you were up in that red area, so like Rawson Avenue, it would be over here. You'd have a vegetated area beforehand. You'd have a safety shelf right before, and then rock slope there. And then the other reclaimed slopes areas in blue, you'll have a 3-to-1 slope going down into the water table, a minimum of 6-foot depth, which is to what the ordinance requirement is, and then there'll be angle of proposed slope top of rock.
What's the dimension from here to fall off the end of the earth?
In this area here,
Yeah, in other words, how deep does this get, and how long does it take to get up over your neck?
this will take about, probably 12 to 15 years to get.
No, what is this height?
Oh, and that, so that's actually,
Like, guess, just, it's,
10 feet or so.
and then from here to,
That's roughly 100 feet or so.
okay. So it's a decent swimming area, if you want to swim in cold water.
Right, and there's a couple different things we can do here. We're just proposing it with a ramp going down. Now, if a couple things. So the ordinance requires us to make available public access area, which we had outlined in here up along Rawson Avenue. What that public access area looks like is open for discussion. You know, right now we have just a draft, if you would, of like a ramp going in and a possible parking area and a boat launch, right? So if something else wanted to be there, we just have to do a little different grading in order to do that and make it work. But those are discussions we gladly have, so.
There's a context here that we're not in. How many years before we do this?
Well over 50 plus. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is well into the future.
So I'm not going to be sitting in this chair.
No. No.
That's correct.
Nope, this one's out there a ways, so.
Okay.
But every operating site in Wisconsin has to have a plan, no matter the duration, if it's a year out or if it's, some we have that are going to be 100 plus years out, so. But yes, Mr. May, that's out there.
Okay, so
So public access would be granted up in this area. There's a requirement in the PDD that we actually give temporary access to the lake as it's filling up. For some reason, I don't know why that was put in, but we've accounted for that because the main ramp in the quarry goes down this area right here. So we can provide a temporary access right off there down into that, so. Now, we have had this reclamation plan has been in front of the Quarry Monitoring Committee for a period of time and been reviewed. We've had some good comments and suggestions out of that we've included. Some of it's like keeping safety fence surrounding the property till the water fills up to the top, then some different seating requirements. We do have to have a reclamation bond in place for the site, and actually we have two here. We just split it in half, one for each side. Those bonds, I think we had an estimated cost of $670,000 to push all the berms in and do the seeding work that need to be done. And there's a table listing those costs in the reclamation plan submittal. The ordinances allow for those costs to be adjusted as time goes on. Usually we do that by the CPI. What interval, it depends on the community we're working at. Usually it's not every year because the communities don't want to do it, but it might be every 5 years. Depending on what community we're working with. So, but those can be adjusted. So that rock face, it was about 35% of the total land. There's about 65% that is a slope into the water. Now on this plan that you see here, all the green areas after it's been reclaimed and revegetated, this would all be the area then that is available for future development once we're done. So the public access, we will make it available. If the city chooses to take it or not is up to the city. We've had some communities that don't want it, others that do. If the city does take it and turn it into public access, then the waterway, body of water actually turns into a public waterway because there's public access then, so it's a water of the state. If it remains private, it ends up being a man-made private lake, so there's no DNR jurisdiction over that time. So as it's proposed to meet the ordinance, both the PDDs, public access is provided, that would turn that body into a public water feature then. So I had just a couple other, here was just a little bit showing, we put a boat ramp in here, we'd have some parking. If something else was wanted there, I don't know if you'd want a swimming beach there or not, that's up to the community at that time. But we're open to those kind of ideas, so.
Mr. Saninger.
So normally,
Yeah.
or right now when you go in the quarry, don't you like zigzag down into the quarry from the north side?
Yeah, we come in right about, well, actually, it's right here.
So that access road would basically be, you would reconfigure it.
Yeah, we'd have to come in here and go down this part of the property and then
Okay.
hit that ramp, Glenn.
Okay.
Yeah. So that, because that area then would be just outside the extraction, in the PDD yet, between the extraction limit and the PDD line.
Okay.
So, have you been out to the site, Glenn?
A couple times.
So, the extraction limit's about halfway between the scale house, on the west side between the scale house and our shop.
Okay.
So you'd have to go out the road like basically where the asphalt is in front of the shop.
Okay. I just always imagined that the access road you use now would be kind of how you'd get into the lake if you would. But,
Yeah, well, you could come in here and then actually you'd have to make a turn down. We'd ramp that in so you have a nice slope down into the water.
all right.
I have a couple examples of reclamation. This first one actually is from the old processing area. For those that may not know, all the quarry rock when Painted Dawn was just operating this side was hauled across the river and stockpiled and processed, and all the sales occurred on the west side of the river. As part of the PDD approvals, we had to reclaim this. We gave up any rights to mine this, and we actually took out the river crossings, if you would. They were basically culverts that were 4 or 5 culverts in there that would flood over every spring and then cause us to come out and haul out to the west to 68th Street. So as part of the PDD approvals, we had to move all our operations into the floor of the pit. So all the crushing, washing, all that occurs down here. But after that, we came and we reclaimed this area that was a former pit. So you would see that if you came down the Oakley Trail, you go right by there, probably never knew all those processing operations were there. Because that's been reclaimed for, I think it's almost 20 years now. This is just a gravel pit site actually in Racine County, just south of McGuanaco, that we just got done reclaiming this spring. We had a whole bunch, this area was actually mined out. This is sand and gravel, so it's a little bit different, but the water table, we created a lake here. And then this area, we created another lake over here and then reclaimed this and put it all back to farmland, which was the approved reclamation use out there. Just another example that we got done with this year with the gravel pit out by Madison. Reclaim the slopes going down into a nice lake body here. And then here's just another example of an operating pit and then the reclamation that's left at the end. And this was a site out in the village of Big Bend, right adjacent to our Muskego asphalt plant, where we actually had some farm ground that we owned here for 50 or 60 years. And we were able to go in and work out an agreement with the village where we created a 42-lot subdivision. But in order to do that, we mined out 3.5 million tons of gravel and we conveyed it to our property, which is over here. And then we developed this subdivision, which now has, like I said, 42 single-family lots. This is one site actually where the village didn't want any public access to it, so now it's a private lake. So all these homeowners can actually do what they want on the lake. There's no shoreland zoning or that kind of stuff doesn't apply in that situation. But this is how a development can be done around one of these reclaimed lakes. So with that, I think I gave you hopefully good overview, but if you have any other questions, please let me know.
Okay, this is a public hearing. I will open a public hearing. Anyone wishing to give input on this, please rise, come forward, give us your name and address, and let us know what you think.
Thank you, Clint.
And again, this is on the reclamation plan.
I appreciate what you said about well over years. What's the catalyst that's brought up now?
It's part of the requirement of the Unified Development Ordinance, the Planned Development District, and this has been pushed by the Quarry Monitoring Committee.
As opposed to 10 years ago, it's 10 years. I mean, how long is the quarry plan?
Well, I think his answer was 50 years-ish.
Which brings up the question that I asked, why is it being brought up now? If this is going up, there's a result.
Because the Quarry Monitoring Committee and has asked for it, as it's also defined in the Planned Development District, that it needs to be part of the approval process. So why now? City Attorney?
I didn't revisit the Planned Development District ordinances or the statutes or the municipal code with regard to mining reclamation plans, but I dare say it's required by the regulations that upfront the reclamation plan is submitted for review.
I guess my concern is hidden agendas that haven't been brought out. Always hidden agendas somewhere. Trying to understand why. What, is the quarry actually planning to work for another 50 years? Or is that just... I'm not trying to be cynical. I'm just trying to understand numbers because I'm not adding up.
It's a requirement of the ordinance.
That it be done 50 years ahead of time.
Strange as that sounds. There's lots of strange laws. Anyone else? You're welcome. Name and address, please. Is that your name? What is your name, sir? Thanks, Rick.
Maybe by the time get back in, my grandson from the second reincarnation will be able to possibly use this, but I guess that's the rules. You have to I'm not able to take it. Thank you guys are doing, keep it up.
Thanks for the lighthearted comment. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay. Seeing no one else rise, I will close the public hearing on this matter, and the next step is Mr. City Engineer.
So I was going to ask a question. So just for everyone's benefit, how much would this tie the city's hands in 50 years? I mean, if they were to decide that they like the beach on the other side or something like that, is there means and methods that could be arranged that time, or this is the bare minimum that has to be done, or?
It's subject to amendment.
Subject to amendment. So it could be mutually agreed upon at that time.
Correct.
So, okay.
For those of you who didn't hear that, the answer the city attorney said it was subject to amendment, like just about every other law in the world. So there we go.
And in coordination with the quarry property owner or owners reaching an agreement.
Sure.
Mr. Martinez, what's next? Nothing for us for this.
No, no action requested.
All right, so we'll move on to the next agenda item.
I have a couple of
Oh,
questions.
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Mayor.
Commissioner Leon.
Questions for the applicant, so I could ask you to come back up, Mr. Weininger. And I guess I'll make my own lighthearted comment. Unlike the mayor, I expect that you will see this plan through to completion, correct?
I must look better than, I'm older than I look, I guess. No, I don't expect here. The good thing is that, these quarries have been here. This one's been 80-plus years serving the community. Like our Waukesha quarry's been like 100, almost 60 years, servicing the community. So it is a material that is going to supply the community for a long time. So, which is the good thing. Even though it's a long time out, that means we got a good source of road construction, building construction materials close in the community. So, but no, I will not plan on being here. Even if I'm that age, I'm gonna be at the beach or something doing.
Right, hanging out at the public access feature. Mr. Martinez, could you back up to, there's one probably, I don't know if it'll gain me anything, but you described a 3-in-1 slope. Can you put that into layman's terms?
Sure, that's, so every 3 feet that you go horizontal, you go up 1 foot.
Okay,
So,
thanks for that.
and that's,
Right.
or up or down. Yeah, usually I go up when I describe slope, usually not down. It's usually, anytime you see it drawn, it's up, but, yeah, so it's 3 to 1. If you hear anything like, or 5 to 1, 10 to 1, 1.5 to 1, that'll be the horizontal to the vertical.
So,
Yes, yep, and that's a minimum requirement that's needed.
One other.
if I could help the applicant, so 3 to 1 is generally the steepest we would allow a side slope. In fact, if we were to put 3 to 1, we would get complaints, but in theory, that is shallow enough to mow, but people don't like it. So 4 to 1 is generally what we consider the minimum slope for Franklin slopes. So-
Yeah, and it really depends on the use and what you're doing. So, some of the farm ground we have will be, 10 to 1 slopes, 8 to 1 where you can get a tractor on it, farm it. When you start getting around some of these bodies of water, we tend to steepen up near the water because then you're opening up the development land up on top instead of using it for a slope that you can't do anything with.
And I would guess your existing berms along Rawson are probably about 3 to 1.
Yep.
So to give you an idea.
Thank you for the description. I do have another question, but I'll defer to Alderwoman Hanneman.
Oh,
Alderman Hammond.
thank you. And I have some pretty elementary questions.
That's okay.
In current practice in reclamation, does the DNR come in and stock these lakes with fish?
No, not usually. If it's a private body of water, no, because they don't have any jurisdiction. Then it's up to the landowner. If it's a public body of water, that's still really at their jurisdiction. What you'll find is, like the 2 that I showed you out in Racine County, actually those bodies of water will naturally get stocked, believe it or not, from eggs sticking on ducks' feet when they come, land in the water, they fall off and they'll naturally stock themselves. I didn't believe it till I'm by these gravel pits. I'm like, well, no, we never stocked it. And you get some action. I shouldn't even say that. We get some really good fishing in some of our sites. So this isn't broadcast, is it? So,
It is.
Oh boy.
It is.
There's no fish in here though, because we're dewatered. But they'll naturally. But I know some people, landowners will do it. Like we've had private landowners, we made a pond for them, they'll stock it themselves afterwards. So with this being a public body of water, at the end, if the city takes it and makes it public, then yeah, they could work with the DNR at that point in time to stock it. Yeah.
A second question then, is it generally your standard operating procedure to just dump the berms into the bottom? 'Cause
Correct.
it seemed to me that for quite a long period of time before the lake fills up, it would be a pretty muddy, murky, slurry kind of,
Actually, that settles out really quick.
does it?
Yeah, it doesn't stay. I appreciate the question though. But we're actually now taking a lot of the overburden that's on top of the rock, and we have mined out portions of the quarry. We're all the way through the limestone, putting the dirt back in the bottom there. But the berms themselves will end up being just pushed in over the edge, get a big dozer and do that. But with the water not filling up very fast, a lot of that's going to be done when it's still relatively a dry quarry. So you won't have it murky by the time it fills up. It'll just be settled out nice. So.
Thanks.
I have another question, but I defer to the engineer.
I do have one question that I get asked a lot. So when this does turn into a lake, we won't be filling it with the river, right? It'll be,
Oh, great question. No, we have that, Reglo, do you have that? So this is a great, no, go back to that other cross section. So I sort of skipped over this a little bit, so I apologize for that. Go back to the one with the picture with the
Oh, the
green slope.
picture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was one of the questions actually that came up in the quarry monitoring committee, was not just the Root River, but then also the slope and all the trees that adjoin it. So this is, if you go in the quarry, this is actually what we call the high road around the quarry. And we're looking, going straight south pretty much. This is just south of our asphalt plant entrance when you start to take the ramp down into the quarry. And when we come to reclaim, this area has been all mined out to here. You can't see the rock face, but it's right in this location. We'll cut this slope in from here down to the top of rock. And that's roughly a 3-to-1 slope, I think I had drawn there. But we won't be going outside of this area. So you'll have this nice berm protection area between the river and the quarry. So they won't be connected at all.
so the water level will be set basically by groundwater levels.
Yep, groundwater and then adjust for stormwater, yeah, so.
Okay.
And there's some variation of that from year to year. That can go up or down, 5-6 feet plus or minus.
So, Mr. Weininger, my question is, at this point, with whom have you already, or with whom do you intend to work on this plan with moving forward? And I ask that simply because, we're in an informational hearing tonight, but there's going to be a public comment period, and there are going to be concerns from neighbors about, to use an expression, hidden agendas, whether that's real or perceived. And for the record, I believe that's perceived. But to address those concerns, so obviously your firm is working on it in conjunction with whatever other technical consultants, but I'm talking about staff, obviously, alders in that district or nearby, or even residents, so that there is input into the plan so that we can very publicly say, no, we're not just doing what's easiest for us, we're doing what's best for the community. So, condense it back down. With whom have you already worked, and who do you intend to work with moving forward on the plan?
Well, it's a lot of the baseline was set by the PDDs when they were set, and I think they were pretty forethink, because I think a lot of times people are really more worried about what the use is at the end. And I've had some where they said, well, you guys should do this or that. I'm like, 100 years from now, really, is that what you want to tie your hands at a community? And they're like, they think about it and they're like, no, really, it's the power is going to rest in the community's ability to dictate what happens there in the future. All we're really doing is providing a grading plan and a revegetation plan at this point in time. So we're just building off of what the PDD required, then what the state statute requires, and the city's non-metallic mining ordinance, which those pretty much run together. State statute mirrors the local ordinance. And so outside of that, part of the reason it came up now is I think a plan was submitted originally as required by the PDD 20 plus years ago. And all that required was for us to submit the plan. And then I think in the quarry monitoring committee's review, they said, hey, I don't know if we ever approved this or not. So all we did then is take that initial plan, we updated it, added some comments and inputs from the quarry monitoring committee, and then they asked that we bring it back then for plan commission approval. So that's how we got here today. So as far as what we're doing, we're locked in to the requirements of the PDD as far as what we can operate, what we have to do. So.
Okay. So, I mean, it sounds like at least you're working with the quarry monitoring committee. And I guess I would ask staff or maybe the mayor, what's the makeup of the quarry monitoring committee?
Except for one, it's the neighbors.
Okay. So the neighbors have some input when you're going before them on that committee. And you've already mentioned you're taking some of that input in the plan that you've developed.
Correct. Yeah, it was a process that lasted a while. Nobody was in a hurry, so we just reviewed it as they had time and available and went through it in pretty good detail. So, and it was at Alderman Wilhelm's request that we bring it forward. I said I don't have any problem making that request sent to the Plan Commission, so.
Okay, then yeah, the only request is you're required to, but continue to be open to their suggestions to adjust it over the period of the next half century or so.
Yeah, just an additional comment. I staffed the Quarry Monitoring Committee. In 2020, we held 2 or 3 meetings about the reclamation plan.
Thank you.
Regular will still be on staff.
Maybe you'll be sitting where you are by then.
Thank you, Mr. Weninger. Oh, probably true.
Thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it. So we'll move on to the site plan for Sleep Inn and Mainstay Suites at Ballpark Commons. Mr. Eddie. All of you guys? Doing this one. Mr. Heath? Mr. Martinez?
Good evening. This is a site plan application to allow for a new hotel in the Ballpark Commons Plan Development District. So I will start with a brief description of the project. So hotel, 4-story wood frame structure, 98 rooms, 111 parking spaces. Hotel is a permitted use in this area of the PDD, but they need the site plan approval for the layout of the building and the configuration. This is the architecture of the building. We sent some comments to the applicant. They addressed the comments about the architecture. I would like to note that the main entrance is located in the southeast, so it's not facing Ballpark Drive. So some of the dimensional standards of the PDD, they comply with all the setbacks except the front yard setback.
I'm sorry, you did that real quick and was all over the map. The front entrance faces Loomis and 76th.
Correct, yeah. It's not facing Ballpark Drive. So they have a service entrance to Ballpark Drive. Okay, so regarding the setbacks, site plan complied with all the setback except the front yard setback required 25 feet. They are proposing 15 feet because along the rear lot line, there are 3 easements. There's a Mmsd gas pipeline easement, and there's a sanitary sewer easement, and there's a landscape buffer yard easement. The Plan Commission has the authority to waive any of the setback requirements. One example, if the office building located at 7044 Ballpark Drive, where the wheel sprocket is located. The other request of the applicant is an increase to the parking requirements. Required parking is 98 spaces. They are proposing 111 spaces. Also, the Plan Commission has the authority to increase parking requirements by 20%. And there is another requirement of the PDD that the applicant is requesting a waiver. So according to the PDD, it's required for any building over 40,000 square feet to have like what the PDD call a central area. It has to be like a pedestrian plaza with seating and benches or water feature or a patio or a playground. So what the applicant is proposing is this concrete patio here with a retaining wall, stairs, and a ramp. There's no benches, there's no water feature. So in a staff opinion, this is not what the PDD called the central area feature. So that is for the consideration of the Plan Commission to require or not require the central area feature. Okay. Staff recommends approval as long as the Plan Commission grant the waiver from the front setback, the parking increase, and the central area feature. Along the recommending conditions, staff is recommending cross-access easement to be provided to a connection to lot number 3 of Ballpark Commons. That is a requirement of the PDD to provide cross-access, and a letter of credit to build the cross-access in the future. The other condition is the provision of internal walkway or crossing, because most of the parking is located in this area, away from the building by this trade file. So most of the customers or guests will be crossing this drive. So we're proposing could be painted lines, could be textured concrete or paver blocks. And the other condition, of course, is compliance with all the easement restrictions that I mentioned. And finally, this is a suggestion. It's not included in the draft resolution. Is to provide a public sidewalk from this portion of the Obelisk Trail. The building will be located here to provide a public sidewalk in this area. So to connect to Hampton Inn and other uses in 76 and Rawson intersection. This road, 76th Street, is county jurisdiction, so the final say will be up to the county, but that's a suggestion for consideration of the Plan Commission. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'm going to jump in right away. Heath, for your notes for our UDO changes, we should consider including easements in calculations for setbacks. Specifically, if you look at this one, you look at the corner there, why wouldn't we include that, the easements as part of the setback calculations? I mean, it's not going to be used for anything anyway. Why make people's lives more difficult? But I would use the term may, not shall, just as a comment. Okay, questions from the commission. Mr. City Engineer.
So I'd like to have some further discussion on the sidewalk that I would recommend that on 76th Street, yeah. So the situation is that the county is getting ready to do a bridge project over Loomis, and I've asked the county to consider to connect the sidewalk. So this sidewalk, I would actually ask that extend from the pathway all the way down to the, if you will, the on-ramp, so a little bit further than what it's shown there in the exhibit. And then I'm going to ask the county to extend the sidewalk across their project. There is a sidewalk on the bridge itself, but we need a sidewalk to get from the ramps to the bridge. And if we can do that, then that would allow someone to go from the ball fields or the hotel, walk down to an eating establishment at 76th and Rawson, and vice versa. Folks, kids could have a safe route to walk up to the stadium and the ball fields and that sort of thing. And it does help this hotel, and I think it makes the movement. I suspect that the county is going to ask the city to pay for those little bits of sidewalk between the on-ramps and the bridge, but this is around the TID, so that's my plan to pay for it, just to let everyone know what that is. I do appreciate the applicants moving your driveway. I did not like your earlier scenario, and I do understand and appreciate that took some work to do it, but I do think that's going to work much nicer to have those line up across from each other. So I do appreciate that. Another question, last time I asked about the Mmsd Gas Line, I was told it had not been moved yet. Has it been moved or not?
Yeah, so Justin Johnson with JSD Professional Services. No, it has not been moved, as indicated by the letter that got attached to the Plan Commission package. Although it's worth noting that in the area of the hotel here, that landfill gas line is not and has not ever been planned to be moved. It was just going to work within what the plan was for this. The area where it's being relocated is closer to the office building, down where that last pad is, way down to the southwest of this site. So the relocation of that line was strictly to make a buildable pad for that restaurant, retail, whatever that use was going to be at that last piece there.
Okay, so I did not realize the pipeline did not need to be relocated in this, for this lot.
Correct.
Okay.
That pipeline runs almost right on the property line. It kind of zigzags in and out, but it's generally on that property line for the ramp.
Okay. Those are my comments.
Just want to
Commissioner Leon.
echo city engineer's comment about the sidewalk. That's actually a route that I hike quite a bit, and I'll go right up the hillside next to the chalet as part of it. And walking sidewalks and trying to get across Rawson Avenue at that point is difficult. I mean, there are crosswalks and everything, but having sidewalks all the way through on both sides would be pretty helpful. So I'm supportive of that as well. Thanks.
Okay, so I guess we should go through the conditions one at a time and see what we come up with, right?
Sure.
We've done this before.
Yes.
Who wants to do this, regular or Heath? Regular. Let's hatch our old plan where each one gets a motion. Thanks.
Are we going to have the plan report? The
Let's do the
Yeah.
order.
5-page,
Yeah, so,
Let's do the resolution.
we don't
yeah.
have that.
You don't?
No. I have the plan report, yeah.
Let's do the plan report.
oh,
Do we have the memorandum
Let's do the memo. Yep.
with the blue responses? Because I do have a couple of questions in
Oh,
there.
wait a minute. Well, then do that because we all got to pick the same one, which would be this one. This is the plan, this is the plan.
5-page document.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's what we have.
So Alderwoman Hanneman, your questions.
Okay, well, I was over on the memorandum with some of the points that had come from Mr. Martinez. And I'm generally okay with the site plan, and I agree entirely with the comments about extending that public sidewalk and some other projects in the community. I've been very much pushing connectivity throughout the community, and so I very much support that. I guess I'm questioning why we've chosen this particular brand. As we say in point 23 and point 24, we had expectations for a different brand. And I'm going off of the memorandum with all of the blue notes. And wondering the need for a long-term stay hotel at this location. So I'm just kind of going into usage. Mr. City Attorney, is that outside the agenda?
Yeah, we never received the memorandum, so it's tough for me because
You like this?
It's not, however, whatever brand is not an appropriate consideration. What you meant by saying that was it's the particular use, long-term stay.
yeah, so whatever name you put on the building,
You got that one.
I don't think is as relevant for this discussion. It's a hotel, whatever brand it is kind of irrelevant to its intended use and what it's permitted to be used for. As far as the extended stay, my company, Dave Penalty with Braveheart Development, has a couple of these properties in other locations, and we've actually built Marriott's, Hilton's, Choice Hotels. Choice is kind of a leader in the leisure travel segment, and a lot of our properties that we currently manage and operate are around sports, specifically youth sports. In the extended stay model, what it does, being a dad with 5 kids, is it allows you to have a lot more amenities for your family. So when you come for a baseball tournament or something else, you have a full kitchenette, you have more room. We have a larger room, and you're able to accommodate more of the family travel lifestyle. Additionally, the Mosh Performance Complex, there's a lot of talks around future use for that with more long-term stays for athletic performance training, preparing for various levels within sports, whether it's NFL Combine or other things we're talked about. So an extended stay hotel for athletes that are coming to that facility for more than an overnight or multiple nights, an extended stay facility lines up very well with that. So it's mostly revolved around the sports leisure traveler and how popular extended stay hotels have been for them.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not going to pile on, other than I did have a comment about the badge, but that's not for tonight.
Just one comment,
Well, I
Mayor.
think, actually, I'd like to address it because I think it's good for the city to know. Obviously, everybody has their own opinion about different brands of hotels, and I get that. But I think it's important to note as a developer when you look at a market, right? So when we do a report of what's the existing competition, if we were to build a Fairfield or a Marriott or a Holiday Inn Express, when you pair that with a Hampton, because a Hampton customer or a Hilton Rewards customer is very different than a Choice Hotels customer. There's overlap, but they're different segments, right? So now if we build a Holiday Inn Express or a Fairfield, you kind of have, I don't know how to phrase it, but the big dogs, you know, right next to each other that compete for the same type of customer. Then it inhibits a hotel like this because you're not going to build that when there's already two big dogs right next to each other. But what we found is when we come with a choice property like this that has a lot of amenities, but it's a little more affordable for family travelers and family leisure travelers, it leaves that door open for another hotel like a Fairfield or Holiday Inn Express to come in next to it. Whereas if we did it right away, I think it would discourage future development as Franklin grows. But because we have this and the Hampton next to each other, it leaves the door open for someone else to do a Holiday Inn Express or a Fairfield, or which we would gladly do too if the market continues to develop.
So just to the applicant's point, as family of five,
Yeah.
travels to sports tournaments and other things, that extended stay is very appealing. You know, and we go somewhere.
How does Carly feel?
She definitely supports it, and it's simply because now you don't have to go out.
It's my wife's name too, which
Yeah.
is funny.
You don't have
five
to,
kids.
right? Yeah. Well, you don't have 5 kids; it's a family of 5.
Oh, okay,
3
okay.
kids.
I have 5 children.
But point being, you don't have to have every meal out at a restaurant. You can bring in groceries, you can from home and everything, and then also we travel with our pet, and so we have a kennel in there, and there's more space in those hotel rooms generally for that type of use. And I will tell you, although I will likely never be staying there because I think I live maybe less than a mile straight line distance. But I do have friends who come up for sports tournaments up there, and that would be very appealing to have that option to them for the more of the extended stay. So I totally understand what the applicant's saying, and not to discount the other woman's point, but I get it.
Okay, I'll take that one step further. And just, I'll also kind of preface, I have stayed in your properties in Ames, Iowa.
Oh, yeah, awesome.
Several times. But as I was looking, and please don't take offense at anything I'm saying, but as I went and I was looking on your website and doing a little research, and I was very intrigued by your Avila brand, which is very new and fresh and seems, in my somewhat trained marketing opinion, looking at the sort of aura or lifestyle of Ballpark Commons and The Rock. I mean, you've all worked very hard to make that like a 5-star destination within this community. You know, we've got some really great businesses there, lovely coffee house bar. So I was looking at that brand wondering, that looked like a better fit as a marketing product.
Yeah.
For this area. So I'm kind of wondering why that maybe wasn't chosen.
No, I appreciate that. Avid is the
Avid,
brand.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
By IHG.
I did have that written down.
It is a cool hotel, and they're very hip and trendy. And I agree, the aesthetics of the building would match the development much better. The problem is the rooms. It's like a Hilton True, so they're very similar, or an A loft. The rooms are meant to be very small, and the public spaces are larger. Sort of, they call it a millennial hotel. So they like to hang out in the lobby, play pool, play ping pong. It's centered around the public space, not the rooms. And so that the tough part is for families and sports travel. My wife and I feel claustrophobic in an Avid room. I think it's a great brand in the right area. Typically, you build those in downtown metropolitan areas or areas where it's just a quick overnight stay. It's more transient travel, but more destination travel. The rooms are probably half the size of a extended stay room on the Mainstay side, and they're also much smaller than the sleep-in side. So it just wouldn't accommodate families.
Okay.
I would put one in downtown Milwaukee, but not,
You have one coming Waukesha, correct?
what's that?
Is one coming Waukesha?
Maybe, yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, we just develop the brands, so we're brand agnostic.
Gotcha.
Whatever brand fits the market based on what's there or what's not there, we'll build.
Okay.
We picked Choice because based on our 30 years of experience, we think it's the best fit here. But if I thought Fairfield was, fine, we'll do a Fairfield. If I thought Holiday Inn Express was, we'd do that. It's simply just based on our market knowledge of what's needed. And the fact that typically you need a bigger brand to drive customers to it. But when all the customers are already coming to that area and they've taken care of driving the demand there, there's no sense in overbuilding just to have a brand and spending more because they're going to stay there anyway. They're already at the development, and it offers both amenities, extended stay and regular. And it's better suited for the sports traveling family than a Hilton would be or a Marriott.
Can I follow up?
Thanks.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question.
If I could follow up on that question, so I guess initially I was thinking that regardless of the brand, cost of the hotel would be the cost of the hotel. So I think I heard you say more expensive, less expensive. So what you're proposing, is it 70% of what one of the other brands would be, or is it?
Well, that's kind of a trick question. Well, not a trick, but a tricky, because if you build let's just use Fairfield Inn and Suites. They're all kind of a standard room with a couple larger rooms. So it's one kind of hotel. But if you build this hotel, which is dual branded, you have a lot of additional expense in the kitchenettes, the ovens, the full-size refrigerators. So Marriott and Hilton and IHG have higher development costs because of who the brand is and what they demand than Choice does. But some of that cost was made up by the fact that extended stay rooms are a lot more expensive because you have full kitchenettes. But if you were to put them side by side, a Fairfield would probably still be, I don't know, anywhere between 800,000 and $1.5 million more, maybe 2 million at the top end.
So,
You want to invest, Steve?
so I guess to be blunt, obviously I mean, it's nice to have what the product's needed, but our real goal here is to get the assessed valuation up because it's a TID district and we really need I appreciate the fact you maxed out the footprint. I get that because of parking and so forth, and you can't make the building bigger than the footprint that you have. Is it possible to get a more expensive building for assessed valuation purposes with some other branding?
But I mean, potentially, yeah, we could put a Ritz-Carlton there, right? I mean, but the ultimate goal for any development is to have the project succeed. And overbuilding it to make up for TID money isn't necessarily the best answer.
So are you spending more money just on bed sheets and other things that don't go to the valuation, or is it
Yeah, it's frills. It's the furniture package. It's the signage package.
structurally and the aesthetics and architectural elements and so forth that make the value of the building? Are you trying to say that be equivalent regardless of the brand?
Yeah.
But the reason why you'd spend more on another brand is for the bigger TVs and the bigger
Frills,
fluffier.
yeah.
Okay.
amenities.
Steve Taylor, 2812 West Hilltop Lane. I'm representing Mike Zimmerman, who's in California bringing deals back to Franklin. So I'm here to represent him on this. I would just argue that I've heard for months and months, and is it probably a year or more, that we want to get the shovels in the ground, and we're here to do that. So we can talk about what it could be or what it could have been, but this is a decision that's been made. You're asking us to go back to the drawing board. That's going to delay the project. So winter's about to start. So
Hopefully in October, into October.
Yeah.
Our goal is to break ground and at least get the footings in the ground before frost. I mean,
So-
we'll see, that's tight, but that's our goal.
that'd be my comments on that.
Anybody else? All right, we're going to go through these one by one.
Just want to make clear about the draft resolution. It includes the standard conditions with three conditions that staff recommended: the cross access, the internal pedestrian walkway between the parking lot and the building, and compliance with the easements. The sidewalk is not included in the
We
resolution,
need
so
to
you will
add a
need to include.
sidewalk
Yeah.
from the existing pathway to the on-ramp.
Which document are you using? Well, but they don't have the resolution.
I just gave them my copy.
It's,
Oh, okay, good. All
you,
right.
you,
We're all using the resolution. Everybody got the,
Mayor,
you got the
May-
resolution?
We have it right here. So can you want to talk about the three items?
Yep.
All right, so
Okay.
what was the first? Bring me the first one and I'll shoot.
So the first item would be the cross-access easement to the lot to the southwest.
Okay, so we would argue that that's not necessary because the south is going to be either ball diamonds, so why would you connect a road to a baseball diamond? And secondly, if it's not baseball because we decide that we need parking, why you'd want to have access from one parking lot to another that's private. So, the reason why we want more parking is because once that's used for the hotel, on certain weekends when they're going to be packed, there's nowhere else for cars to go. So that's why having a few more spots is a good thing. But to have to police the entrance to the hotel plus now an additional parking lot potentially if we don't build the two baseball diamonds, it doesn't, to me, make much sense at all, which is common sense.
So I do recall that some of the options were a ball field, some of the options were additional parking, but I thought one of the options was an additional building of some
No,
sort.
it's not there.
Okay.
Right. Once you get into that area southwest of this, there's, most of that has waste underneath it.
Okay.
So it would be pretty cost prohibitive to do, not to say it couldn't be done, but because we have removed waste in other areas on the site, but
Okay.
Do we have a larger view, just so we can put on the record and be clear?
Yeah.
So, this building's going here. We wanted to cross-access easement here. But this is where the brew pub's going to be. This was intended to be two ball fields.
Okay.
So
There's just no need to have that.
I happen to agree with the applicant on this one, on this particular one.
Okay. I'll concede it
Good with that.
if that's not a building.
So is there a motion to remove condition 5?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 You guys.
Again,
Motion carries. 4 ayes, no noes. Mayor did not vote, although I would have voted aye, but nobody cares. 6, easement restrictions applicable to this, that's not an issue.
no.
Okay. 7 is applicant shall submit a revised plan for review and approval prior to issuing the building permits. What is, this is pedestrian crossings on the drive aisles, that kind of thing, painting, paver blocks.
We have no issues with that where it makes sense. I mean, I think when we looked at it, I was like, are you talking about like when I'm at a Woodman's or a Meyer and
Right.
they have it painted? If that's what you're asking, that's not an issue.
we just want to have like a visual something so that people are aware when they come in to slow down because people will be walking through the parking
We're
lot.
totally, we're fine with that. Yeah.
You get Commissioner Leone and his brood going across there.
Right.
And then Mr. City Engineer.
So then we would add a requirement for a sidewalk along 76th Street, terminating at the trail on the north side and terminating at the on-ramp to the south
I mean,
side.
is that, I want to say, is it, because it's not part of the plan and it's, you know, it's a recommendation. To the north, it goes nowhere.
So you would walk on the sidewalk and get up to the trail, and then from the trail, you would go east or west.
It's a 230,
230, yep.
I mean, it's a decent expense, which I'm just be honest, doesn't have anything to do with the hotel, in my opinion. But if it's good for the city, by all means, we want to talk about it.
Extended stay, they could walk to our grocery store and with their kitchenettes.
And that will, because I don't know the area well enough, so I don't mean to speak, so I'll leave that to.
It's not right next door, but it's,
Yeah,
If I could just ask one,
somebody else would walk, I wouldn't, but
yeah. Maybe it's because I'm sidewalking first. No, I'm just kidding.
Justin.
just one maybe technical question on that. On this exhibit, it shows running to the corner of our property, not to the intersection,
I'd like to terminate at the actual ramp, yes.
but there are no pedestrian crosswalk signals or push buttons or anything
on that.
at the ramp.
Working
So
on
would
that.
that be part of the county's work
Yep.
then on the bridge to extend up to there?
Yes.
I'm sensitive to the developer in this case, but I really want to have a sidewalk there. We've been talking about this since before the development was even being
There's
talked.
also sidewalks all throughout the development itself.
Right. But this would help get, remember, this was my bugaboo way back when. We got to get the people from Ballpark Commons over to Point After so that they can all have that synergy. This would help that. Now, but let me finish what I'm saying here. All of you guys, all of you, including my employees. I'd like to see this happen. I'm sensitive to the cost. There may be a way that we can do this whereby we can reduce the cost by having it put in by the county at the time they do this rebuilt at less expense than having your guys do it.
I mean, that's great. You're also,
And it's subject to approval of the county too.
right, and you're also quite aware of certain members from the county that are no fans of the development that, you know, makes our lives extremely difficult, and you're asking us to have this approval based on that condition, and that's a concern.
No, I would reverse that. I would reverse that by, would you chill?
I'm waiting.
My suggestion of the motion would be to add a condition that requires the applicant to work with the county to install a sidewalk in whatever manner, whether it's you guys do it, I would prefer that the county do it, bring the expenses down, subject to the approval of Milwaukee County.
And that would be fine, because it's always very interesting, and trust me, I've sat in those chairs long enough to know it's easy to spend other people's money. And so I appreciate the concern of spending ours.
Yeah, but I really want a sidewalk there.
And I think we can have those conversations in Milwaukee County. How well they'll go, that's yet to be determined.
Well, if we do it on staff level, it might.
Well, maybe,
right. I guess what I was getting ready to say is, regardless of that other issue you guys were just talking about, I really think they'll have a difficult time doing that, because that will be way outside their zone of construction zone. So they would have to be extending quite outside their construction zone. If they agree to it, power to you, but be ready to hear that answer.
But understand, as you know, as both of you know, this is how we get our sidewalks in the city. We make you do it. Because we frankly don't have a lot of money to do that ourselves. So, and usually it works out real well. I'm not anxious at spending $1 million on a sidewalk. We've done that in this city. I don't like doing that. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But this particular stretch of sidewalks makes good sense.
If I could just add one comment, and I don't know how you word it into the motion, but there should probably be some discussion in there of the viability of actually getting that sidewalk in there. There are utilities in that strip. There's maybe only 7 feet or 8 feet between the back of curb of 76th Street and the right-of-way line. And I know that power pole runs through there. We dropped our fire hydrant right in the middle of that. Yeah.
So I would.
So there's stuff in there that may be hard to avoid or may be impossible to avoid, but maybe it's something where, you know, we evaluate the viability of that sidewalk.
I would think that those are all solvable issues for a variety of things. Because a pole happens to be in the way doesn't mean that you can't have one little spot where you have a 3-4 foot pathway kind of thing to get around it. But under normal circumstances, you have to have 2 wheelchairs pass each other. They don't have to do it every single location. And as far as the comment about your property line stops there, I guess I would point out that your property line really continues south, just southwesterly. So
That's true.
good try.
No, but my point really is that there is some stuff in there that we have to look at. It's not going to be as simple as running a sidewalk straight down.
I'm not saying you won't have any conflicts that you have to alleviate, but I think they're all solvable issues.
So we need to come up with a motion, doesn't cost $1 million, but gets us a sidewalk. Any ideas?
Well, if the intent of the city is to minimize the expense of the developer, I guess I would suggest to you that there is a TID that can incorporate some things. But I think the intent, I think that's entirely appropriate to ask the developer to pay for this.
But see, here's the problem. You take more money out of the TID, but you also reduce the revenue to the TID by
asking-
reducing the value of the building.
Well,
That's a double whammy. That
I'm
makes no
asking-
sense.
I'm asking the developer to do it like we would any other location. So my suggested language, of course, the rest of the plan commission can add or subtract to it, but I would say that needs to have a sidewalk terminating at the pathway to the north and terminating at the on-ramp to the south. So it would be longer than what is shown in that exhibit. So just so everyone understands.
Subject to the approval of Milwaukee County. They can't put it in without Milwaukee County's approval.
You're thinking the county would not approve a sidewalk in there right away?
Have you seen
Thinking
it
it
all? Where have you been underneath a rock?
There's a sidewalk on the other side. I mean,
So,
okay.
Alderwoman Hanneman.
Thank you, Mayor. Clarification from the city engineer, if I may. Is there any possibility of that being made a 10-foot trail connection?
If the applicant would donate the additional property needed, that could be made I think I hear you saying a potentially park trail.
For which there are possibly impact fees available?
Would the developer be willing
assist?
to donate additional land as needed to have a 10-foot trail?
And provide the match.
So 62% would be paid for by park impact fees, potentially, and then 38% would be borne by the developer.
I mean, that's more obviously economical, but I'm just trying to go back and once again, just think of who's going to use this. If you're honestly are thinking that we're going to have people staying that are, for the most part, at baseball games, going to walk all the way down a busy 76th Street, across Rawson Avenue, and then through a huge parking lot to get to a pick and save. That's what we're envisioning here. And to the north, there's nowhere to go. And you can walk through the entire campus on sidewalks and in a much more a better looking view than busy cars racing past you at 50 miles an hour. So yeah, so I mean, like, I'm trying to think of how this is going to be used when you have the Oak Leaf Trail and everything else through there. I'm a person biking. Do I want to go through the Ballpark Commons campus because people are doing it all the time now? Or no, I'm going to go down 76th Street. I'm just saying, practical. Spending other people's money is real easy, Glenn. It
Well,
sounds like.
here's the thing. Let's work this out, right? Here's a couple of things. First of all, I'm pushing this because it's good for the future, because at some point, it'll connect to something at some point. We have the opportunity now. We also have the opportunity both financially and the construction ability, because now we got the county that'll do the other way, the rest of the way. So now we got this, and all of this is ready to go. That's one thing. The other thing is our ordinances require that collector streets and up bigger get sidewalks when development happens. We didn't mention that, but that's in the development ordinance. So really, I don't know that we have the ability to say, you can't, you don't have to do it. So, so again, let's find a way to see how we can make this happen. A little give there, a little give here, we'll work it out.
Well, in terms of, so I would say then the trail would be the best option. And then let you guys figure it out with the county. The less we have to deal with them, the better.
I think
I was
that's
gonna say
probably
that.
appropriate.
That's fine.
You know, and so then you guys, then it's on you to get it done.
Yeah, I was,
Because we have no desire to put this in, making it
All
clear.
right,
So
I
that
got,
would work.
let me finish this, because we're taking a lot of time on something that's, at the end of the day, not that big a deal. So, the added condition, it states that the developer agrees that they will bear the cost and donate the land for any potential sidewalk. No, take the word any out. For a potential sidewalk on the 76th Street walkway.
I think,
Should that be a
Trail.
I think
76th Street Trail.
so they would donate the needed land,
And come up
And
with the.
come up with a match
48%.
for a trail.
Yeah,
I would make that motion.
That would terminate at the trail to the north and the.
right, and the area you described.
And let me just add a little bit, and would not object to having your crews put it in. Because
Right, sure.
is that, I'm
Public bid.
sorry, okay, that's right, sorry, forget that. Okay. Is
Can we
there,
bid on it?
pardon me?
Can we bid on it? Public bid?
Hey, Ken, why not? Okay, so there's a motion to add that condition. Is there a motion?
I made that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, all those, see, I told you, we can get it worked out. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, just so everybody understand that adding it to our trails list now complicates it greatly on our end to get it done.
You shouldn't ask for it then.
My way of asking for it
I know.
was easy. Okay, any other conditions, Mr. Martinez?
No.
Waivers. They have to
Well,
do
the-
motions on all of
Yeah,
them.
the resolution as presented is assuming that you are okay with the requested waivers, like the setback, like the parking increase, and the,
Yeah, we did all that.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I move to adopt a resolution approving a site plan for construction of a sleep-in and Mainstay Suites Hotel within Planned Development District Number 37, the Rock Sports Complex / Ballpark Commons at 6868 South Ballpark Commons, subject to
Deletions and amendments.
deletions and additions as discussed,
The
and amendments as discussed.
The amendments to the
Technical
terms as
corrections.
voted.
Just, yeah,
Technical corrections for the city attorney.
yeah.
Okay, is there a second?
Yes.
Second.
Commissioner Leon?
My comment can wait till after. We can vote first.
Okay, it's more appropriate now, but okay.
I'll make the comment to Mr. Taylor's comment about the city versus the applicant applying. I would think that a former member of the supervisory council should be able to have that conversation with them as a member of the applicant's team. That's my comment.
I don't think you understand the relationship between this development and members of the county, so
Okay.
that I think you're a little off base.
Okay, all right, let's, okay.
Relationships are important.
On the motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Go dig dirt. I haven't been over there. How's the golf?
Oh, it's looking good.
Poles going up yet?
The pudding's all, I mean, yeah, the pudding's all in. You can see what it's gonna, you get a good idea of what it's gonna look like.
Excellent. Okay,
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Thanks so much.
A little about the market and some fluffy pictures, just to give you guys.
Thank you.
that discussion, the approval of a special use for a meat processing facility use upon a property located at the southwest corner of the intersection of West Loomis Road and the new West Monarch Drive, Lot 83 of Ryan Meadow subdivision, Strauss Brand LLC applicant, to extend the time for commencement of the special use development. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Leone, Alderwoman Hanneman. Mayor will vote on this. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. It's 4 ayes, no nos, 2 absent, 3 absent, excuse me, 3 absent.
2 absent, 1 abstain.
Oh, that's correct. Sorry, thank you, Mr. City Attorney. 2 absent, 1 abstention. Is there a motion as well to adopt a resolution to amend a resolution 2020-024, a resolution approving a site plan for construction of a meat processing facility with associated cattle pen, a harvest floor, carcass coolers, fabrication areas, packaging areas, warehouse areas, shipping docks, operations offices, employee welfare spaces, associated mechanical support facilities and spaces, a future development area, stormwater ponds, parking lot, and truck and employee vehicle entrance drives, being the southwest corner of the intersection of West Loomis Road and the New Monarch Drive, Lot 83 of Ryan Meadow Subdivision, Strauss Brands LLC applicant, to extend the time for commencement of this site plan use development.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Leone, seconded by Alderwoman Hanneman. Mayor will vote on this item. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, 4 ayes, no nos, 2 absent, 1 abstention. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
I wasn't cutting you off on it.